Bonsoir, bonsoir, good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Kuzmierczak, and I am the Member of Parliament for Windsor-Tecumseh, and it has been my honor to serve as the Parliamentary Secretary to Minister Qualtrough. And tonight, I have the great honor and privilege to serve as your MC. And I just wanted to say how incredibly grateful I am to be with you here today. As we do the hard work together of building a more inclusive and more barrier-free Canada. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathering on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. And I would also like to take a moment to describe myself. I am a white male with brown hair and blue eyes, and I am wearing a navy blue suit with a red tie. Before I introduce our co-hosts for this evening, I would like to share some housekeeping reminders. And please allow me to direct your attention to the ASL and LSQ interpreters who are with us here tonight. English and French CART services are available on both television screens to the right and the left of the podium. And finally, headsets are available near the registration table for anyone requiring English or French interpretation. And now, without further delay, I am absolutely honored to introduce our co-hosts for tonight's reception, celebrating International Day of Persons with Disabilities, Minister Carla Qualtrough and Senator Brent Cotter. Senator Cotter, over to you.
Thank you, Eric, for that introduction. I'm going to borrow a little bit of your style and describe myself. I'm a 70-year-old white male with no hair. You don't need to know much more. It's an honor to be co-hosting this reception with Minister Qualtrough and to be with you this evening celebrating the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. I attended a reception a few weeks ago celebrating Easter seals, and I observed when Minister Qualtrough spoke about the Disabilities Bill, she got the loudest applause. So I'm going to limit my remarks to the Disabilities Bill, learning something from her. Many speakers, including myself, often start their remarks with something they think is sublime, and then they go all the way down to the ridiculous. Tonight I'm going to try for the opposite. I will start with the seemingly ridiculous and end with the hopefully sublime. I can hear my fellow senators, 10 or so of whom are here tonight, groaning, saying, "Oh no, Brent, not again." But here goes. First, the ridiculous. Many of you may be familiar with the cartoonist Gary Larson, brilliant, eccentric. I want to describe to you my favorite cartoon of his, and I want you to imagine it. Imagine a children's playground, and imagine within that children's playground a children's slide. And there's a little boy at the top of the slide about to slide down. At the bottom of the slide are two spiders. I can see some of you nodding your heads. You know this cartoon. At the bottom are two spiders, and they have spun a spider's web across the bottom of the slide. And just as the little boy starts down the slide, one spider says to the other, "If we pull this off, we'll eat like kings." For years, for many of you in this room and your colleagues across the country, the idea of a disability benefit to enable people with disabilities to be able to live, not like kings, but to live decent, affordable lives must have seemed about as likely as the hopes of those two optimistic spiders. Well, your work, your determination, your optimism is about to achieve a success that we have all long sought. That work, coupled with the leadership of Minister Qualtrough and our Prime Minister, and many committed parliamentarians, some here in the room, have brought us to a point with Bill C-22 where that end is in sight. The Senate, and I'm the sponsor of the bill in the Senate, eagerly await its timely arrival in our chamber, and with it, thoughtful consideration and timely approval. A livable income for hundreds of thousands of Canadians with disabilities is a nation-building undertaking of a generation, and I'm honored to be a small part of it. So let me conclude with the hopefully sublime. A good friend of mine, John White, once said the following in a somewhat different context, and I quote, "A nation is built when the communities that comprise it make commitments to it, when they forego choices and opportunities on behalf of a nation, and perhaps most pointedly, when they receive from others the benefits of national solidarity. The threads of 1,000 acts of accommodation are the fabric of a nation. The threads of 1,000 acts of accommodation are the fabric of a nation." So, as one spider to another with Bill C-22, we are on the cusp of not just congratulations or congratulating each other or thanking the minister, but of creating a great act of caring accommodation as we weave together and strengthen the fabric of a great and caring nation. Thank you. Thanks. Now, a brief introduction of someone you know well, and many of you far better than me, the Honourable Carla Qualtrough, Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Disability Inclusion. I want to make 6 or 7 points about Minister. It'll take about an hour, I think. First, as many of you will know, she's a lawyer, a graduate of the University of Victoria Law School, a kind of a second-rate law school in the world where I come from. A distinguished human rights lawyer, as you know, a Paralympic swimmer and medalist, distinguished in those respects. To bond with Minister Qualtrough, I told her a story one time that I had curled in the briar pretending that I was an athlete. But it was true, but kind of a sham. She is the real athlete. She's been a member of Parliament and minister since 2016 for the constituency of Delta. As you know, visually impaired. She is the first minister responsible for disabilities in this country. And in my opinion, I expect yours, there has never been a bigger, more determined champion of people with disabilities in this country in our history.
Wow. UVic's a very good law school. Hi, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be with you today in Ottawa on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. I have short blonde hair, I'm wearing glasses, a light brown blazer, and I'm looking straight ahead with the goofiest grin on my face because I'm so happy to see all of you. Happy early International Day of Persons with Disabilities. This year, we're marking the 30th anniversary of this day that is dedicated solely to persons with disabilities. Senator Cotter, thank you for co-hosting tonight's reception with me. I look forward to working with you on Bill C-22, and I'm very grateful for you having agreed to be the sponsor of this very important piece of legislation in the Senate. We also have with us this evening Canada's first Chief Accessibility Officer, Stephanie Cadieux, and our first Accessibility Commissioner, Michael Gothell. Where's Michael? So thank you both for your continued partnership and your leadership. Now, the last time we gathered to celebrate IDPD in person was December of 2019. Man, there's a lot of water under the bridge since then. And a lot has changed. In 2019, we were celebrating the fact that the Accessible Canada Act had become law. Can you imagine? Like it had just become law. And this year, we're celebrating more milestones. Plus tôt cet automne, nous avons lancé le tout premier plan d'action pour l'inclusion des personnes en situation de handicap au Canada. Ce plan d'action en est un de changement. Il mettra le gouvernement ainsi que les réseaux et les systèmes dans lesquels nous opérons au défi de faire mieux. Il mettra le Canada au défi de faire mieux. Le plan repose sur 4 piliers fondamentaux identifiés comme prioritaires par vous, par la communauté de personnes en situation de handicap. la sécurité financière, l'emploi, des communautés accessibles et inclusives, et une approche moderne à la situation de handicap. A cornerstone of the Disability Inclusion Action Plan is establishing the new Canada Disability Benefit, a federal income supplement for working-age persons with disabilities designed to lift so many, hundreds of thousands of people out of poverty. I'm pleased to share that Bill C-22 passed second reading in the House with unanimous support of all parties and is currently being studied in committee. Your strong voices and advocacy have led the way, and we are getting there. And in the spirit of nothing without us, we'll continue working with you, the disability community, to shape the proposed benefit and its future regulations. This benefit is an opportunity for once-in-a-generation change in Canada, and I'm determined that we will not miss this chance. I'm so grateful to each of you for your partnership in this important work. What disability rights advocates have fought for and achieved matters, and it makes a real difference. And it's because of your efforts that I stand here as a woman with a disability and as Canada's first ever minister responsible for disability inclusion. La contribution des personnes en situation de handicap a aidé à façonner l'histoire de ce pays et à raconter une histoire riche et dynamique. Ensemble, célébrons tout le talent et la contribution que les personnes en situation de handicap apportent aux communautés canadiennes d'un océan à l'autre. We will be truly amazed of what Canada will become when every single person in this country has an opportunity to contribute fully. Let's continue working together to build a better, more inclusive Canada. J'ai maintenant le plaisir de vous présenter un invité très spécial qui est avec nous ce soir. Il connaît très bien l'importance que notre communauté ait une voix à la table du conseil privé et il a nommé le tout premier ministre canadien, ou plutôt à la toute première ministre canadienne, responsable de l'inclusion des personnes en situation de handicap. From my very first day as minister, he has shown me his confidence and unwavering support to advance the rights of persons with disabilities across the country, and I'm proud of the work we've accomplished together under his leadership. And I'm looking forward to the work still ahead of us, especially the creation of the Canada Disability Benefit that will lift so many people out of poverty. Please join me in welcoming Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Merci, mes amis. Thank you, Eric, for your introduction. Thank you, Brent, for all your leadership on this. But thank you, Carla. It is an extraordinary privilege to work alongside Carla and to have been able to get to know her over these past 7 years. You know her as an extraordinary, passionate advocate, a fighter across the country for better inclusion, for reducing barriers, for the kinds of things that we need to do and be to be the country we like to imagine ourselves or think of ourselves as being. But what you don't get to see is what she does around the cabinet table. In every conversation, at every opportunity, she reminds us that being a truly inclusive country, because quite honestly, we're liberals, and we think about multiculturalism, and we think about bringing the Canada together in diversity and geography and in languages and all those different things. But she is the one who has drilled into us and allowed us to understand the importance, the benefits, and the need that if we truly want to say differences are a source of strength, then diversity and inclusion is how you build a better future. That keeping in our minds inclusion of all Canadians, regardless of the barriers that they face, is essential. And your voice and your teaching of all of us has been just extraordinary, Carla. Thank you. Je suis évidemment très heureux d'être ici avec vous ce soir. En quelques jours, on va souligner la Journée internationale des personnes en situation de handicap. C'est un moment pour nous tous de reconnaître les importantes contributions des personnes en situation de handicap. The International Day of Persons with Disabilities is a moment to recognize our neighbors and friends, our colleagues and family members who continue to defy stereotypes and to redefine what it means to thrive. More than 1 person in 5 in our country identifies as having a disability. Removing barriers and ensuring equal opportunities for all Canadians. This is not only something we're committed to doing this week, this is something we're committed to doing every day. Because in Canada, we know that everyone should have a real and fair chance at success, which is why our government is taking concrete steps to make our country more inclusive. Le mois dernier, on a dévoilé le plan d'action pour l'inclusion des personnes en situation de handicap qui a été développé en partenariat avec vous, avec la communauté. Avec ce plan, on s'assure qu'un plus grand nombre de personnes en situation de handicap soient en mesure de trouver et de garder un emploi de qualité, de progresser dans leur carrière et de devenir entrepreneurs. On aide aussi les centres de services de garde à rendre leurs installations plus accessibles, notamment grâce à l'ajout de rampes et de structures de jeux adaptées. We know that persons with disabilities are more likely to live in poverty. This is why we're continuing our work to reduce poverty and improve financial security for Canadians living with disabilities, including with the tabling of the Canada Disability Benefit Act in Parliament. In partnership with the community, we're working in a methodical and deliberate way on the detailed design of the benefit to ensure its long-term success and impact. While we've made important progress over the years, we know there is more to be done. As important as the actual delivery of this benefit is and will be, and the impact it'll have in people's daily lives, it's also unbelievably important as a message of how important people living with disabilities are, how valued they must be as members of society, and how we cannot be the successful country we all want to be unless we create a country in which all Canadians can fully, completely contribute and achieve their potentials. So my commitment to you is one I've made a number of times, but I never tire of saying. You can count on our government to continue promoting the rights of Canadians living with disabilities while we build a more accessible and disability-inclusive country. And it's not just about doing the right thing, though of course it is. It's also about doing the smart thing. It's about understanding that what Canadians who are differently abled have to share, to contribute, is not just about being able to measure up to what more able Canadians deliver. It's actually understanding that you have more to offer Canada and Canadians than others. The struggles you've had, the barriers you've overcome, the empathy that you've had to develop, the ability you've shown in navigating a world that has not been designed with you in mind, means that what you have to offer is all the more important and all the deeper. And Canada will be made infinitely richer by being able to rely on your full participation and contributions to this great country. Merci beaucoup, mes chers amis.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister, for those beautiful words. Thank you, Prime Minister, for being a champion for inclusion in Canada. But also thank you, Prime Minister, for being a champion of all the champions that are gathered here this evening, working every day tirelessly to build a better, more inclusive, more diverse, more accessible Canada. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Minister Qualtrough. Thank you, Senator Cotter, for all of your tremendous work and your tremendous leadership. And thank you to all of you for being part of this truly inspiring and unforgettable evening, and most importantly, for being a part of this incredible mission that we are on together and this incredible movement that we are all a part. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Let's enjoy ourselves this evening. Thank you.